Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Carly. Good morning, Janae. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the program. I was listening to Michelle's program, and I don't know where she found that Kim song, but that's a jam,
man, ain't it?
Yeah, and I just, you just sit there, and then, man.
Yeah.
So we'll be known for our opening programs be terrible, but at the opening, man, that music be slamming.
Man.
I was telling everybody in the studio that I have some bad news for Kennedy, that I won't be going to McDonald's for her. And I was telling Jermaine, so this is how it works. We can buy your product, but we can't work for your company. What is that?
Yeah.
So there's my process. I don't go to Walmart, and I don't go to Walmart because when people were trying to unionize at Walmart, I mean, they were violently opposed. And so I just didn't see in the way that they exploit and abuse their workers. Look, I guess all workers are exploited, but Walmart, no. And I understand for people what Walmart represents, price points, what you're able to do, just their volume of products. But money talks.
Yeah.
And when you stop spending your money and you do it in a significant way, I think her Christopher was saying how we not collectively. And I think that for the last two generations, we have not had so-called mileposts where you can look at it and go, oh, we need to bring that down. But the white lash that we're dealing with goes back to, obviously, Barack Obama. White supremacy is real. And whether people want to accept that it's real, it is real.
Yeah.
And so you see it every day. I don't know. I had heard something where they were talking about the possibility of doing reparations for white males who have been, man, it's crazy, man. And I think that we have a tendency, we as people, to go, oh, it ain't raining right now, right? And then all the handwriting is on the wall, and then people accuse folks of being alarmist, and I don't know what you worried about, and the whole thing. But the handwriting is on the wall.
Yeah, Doc, it is most definitely on the wall. That is like almost like we know, man, that the storm is coming, and you look up in the sky and see the clouds is gathering and is forming, and so we know that it's coming.
And not that I accept the literal view of the Great Flood, but I do metaphorically understand what's saying that when trouble is coming, you need to prepare.
Yeah.
And people, it ain't trouble yet.
Yeah.
And then by the time trouble hits,
it's too late.
You're not prepared for it. Understand, man, that look, if you have good out here, you're going to have evil. And I think a lot of people, here's the other thing, the exceptional Negro. Yeah. The exceptional Negro, you ain't talking about me. Oh, Negro, they talking about you too. Yeah. And so I think the mindfulness of all what's going on, I think we just have to be, just part of me was asking the question, after Trump takes the oath, should certain people just get up and walk out, not stay for the speech? This dude didn't even have the class to show up for Biden's inauguration.
Yeah.
It is, and I know people, don't be what you hate. I got all of that. But sometimes, man, it's just like it. Now, we had basically the same election in 2024 we had in 2020.
That was stolen in 20?
It was stolen in 20.
Oh, okay. But it ain't stolen now, though.
No. Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no. The system works.
Oh, okay.
The system works. And then I guess, because sometimes you can do these things. There are Republicans who are cautioning Donald Trump, be careful who you pardon in terms of those January 6ers. Because at some point, this idea, and I always find it amazing that here's a guy running around talking about law and order, and he's a convicted felon.
34 of them.
Yeah, and you talking about law and order. Now look, I guess there's a certain level of hypocrisy in all our lives, but this level of denial. And then I was thinking on the way in, because people do faulty logic. So there were people who were arguing the economy. And under Trump, we didn't have inflation. Okay. It wasn't like inflation was a threat and Trump put in a policy to thwart the inflation. Right. It did not exist.
Right.
Then we had a once in a century crisis. Yeah. Which then drew up inflation. So then people in their own form of logic says, well, if we didn't have inflation under him when he was president before, then we won't have inflation under him when he's president now. That's such faulty logic. And I was hearing people, oh, it was better off when he was president. Dude, we didn't have a pandemic until the end of his term. What are you talking about?
And they was like, well, Trump looked out for us. Trump gave us checks.
Trump didn't want to give you those checks.
He didn't want and how he painted it was he wanted people to think he did it, so he put his name
on it
on the check. So people like, oh well, Trump gave it to us. No, he didn't. And that was nasty.
Did he even sign it, or did he let it go into law? Because this is what happens when legislation passes both houses of Congress, it then goes to the president for signature or veto, or he can do nothing and it becomes law. So you can sit there, and if you don't, I don't know what the requisite number of days is. He doesn't sign it into law. It just becomes law. He didn't veto it, but it becomes law. And then he can say, well, I didn't sign the legislation. Now, most presidents are either going to veto it, or sometimes that legislation doesn't get to the White House because of the threat of veto. And people go, well, why we go through all these efforts to pass a bill that only is gonna die? It's like when the Republicans in the House was trying to 50 plus times they tried to end the Affordable Care Act. They knew that even if it gets to the Senate, it's gonna die, and if it got to the president, who was then Biden, do it under Obama? No, they did it. Yeah, they did. They tried to do it under Obama. Yeah. Was it Trump? They did it with Trump, but again, I think at that point, when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House, she became Speaker of the House the last 2 years of his presidency. She was Speaker of the House, so that dog wasn't gonna hunt. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Good. What's happening?
Hey, I'm just sort of, kind of taking it all in and getting mentally prepared for, this dude, being sworn in. It kind of, we're at a point in I'll call America where we're going to find out what this country really is about. And granted, we've always had some sort of friction all throughout the history, but it seemed like Black people always were able to overcome and come out of the other fight better and more strengthened. But the people had a passion, and they understood there was a purpose. I think that's the part that's missing. People don't have a clue of what's going on. They're so easily distracted. They don't want to discern what's true and what's not. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think half the people in the country are totally illiterate in terms of basic stuff, of how things work. You don't have to be an in-depth expert on politics, but you ought to understand how things work, and they don't. And watching the systems basically normalize this dude is not helping, because it used to be when you saw crazy, you knew it. Now, what's crazy is normal. Mm-hmm. And at this point, we're so psychologically dysfunctional as a country. People don't know people think they know what's right, but they don't do right. Well, it must be right because everybody's doing it, and he did it, and he's the most important person, so maybe it wasn't wrong. Mm-hmm. And that kind of mindset is nothing more than a mental manipulation and, quite honestly, intellectual laziness. That's what it's about. And they're taking advantage of it. It's like you used to hear these TV shows like The Twilight Zone used to have these episodes where they would play with some aspect of society and say, watch them respond like the mice in the experiment. And that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, I think it's people Look, we just getting along, going along to get along, right? Nobody wants to. Not nobody. Here we go. There are people who say, it's not worth it. It's not going to change anything. So why even struggle? And that's what evil wants you to do. Evil says that just don't resist. Just don't
Well,
resist. And I think and I like what you say in terms of thinking about things. Um, Look, we do a whole lot of our feelings, right? And this happens on both sides of the aisle. I remember we had an election here. I won't call it a particular election, and I was listening particular to black women, and they kept saying, "I'm not feeling him," and I kept saying, "Well, he ain't running for your boyfriend." Right. The question becomes, what will he be able to do that things are in your best interest? And I think that's how we should look at things. But I think, what we should also do is I think we should be politicizing our children. I mean,
absolutely.
and what I should say, well, yeah, politicize them, get them to understand, that there's politics there and what their social responsibility is.
And I think that's important because, for one, obviously the generation that currently is involved and in charge and engaged, they've lost it. They've lost their way. And the fix to this is going to happen with the kids who aren't here yet, or the kids who are children right now, because it's going to take 20 years to possibly get back to the right way. I just don't see it happening under. If you're over 50 years old, this group ain't gonna do it. It ain't gonna be us. So it's gonna have to be.
But it's still the boomers are still in charge.
True, but the boomers are well represented, but I've seen statistics that say the boomers are not the dominant group anymore.
Well, yes,
we're more engaged.
Right.
We're more engaged, but we're not the dominant group.
Right.
The dominant group are of voting age yet.
Yeah, and I think you said numerically, and I think that you had it, but because someone had asked me last week about the word oligarchy and whether or not we're moving to an oligarchy, and I'm saying we've always had an oligarchy. This country has always had the powerful elite. It's the 1%. And then the vast majority of people, because everything is okay for you materially, then you think, well, there's not an issue, right? But there are issues there. And I don't know. I mean, I think, should we be talking about doing right and doing wrong, or doing what is expedient, like in the moment? But I agree with you, man. I think, I don't know what the wake up call is. Jermaine and I was talking about this, and sometimes by the time we wake up, it's too late.
Well, I'll say, then I'm gonna go. Is that we know Black American history in America, right? And we talk about all the great overcomings. A certain generation has not gone through some traumatic racialized experience yet, and they about to find out. And the question is going to be: it's not even racial. Poor people, uneducated people, are going to find out, if you didn't vote, this is why you should, and if you voted for this dude, this is why you're going to find out you made a mistake. But you can't undo it between now and 4 years down the road. Other than, if there's the possibility that you can get some control at the midterm, you need to vote. You still be the president, but if you can get control of the Congress, that lessens his ability to make your life even worse. And if we don't see a change by the midterms, we're screwed. We are screwed as a country. And people who follow that line of thought is Donald Trump today. He happens to be the name recognition person. These people are like, we know the secret formula. And some guy who's going to be, or gal, who's going to be very, not some bombastic, is going to be able to pull this kind of thing off going forward. And they talk about slavery ain't going to come back. It may not be the slavery that you read about, but trust me, you're going to be worse off if you are people of no means. And the people who got money, who are buying the government right in front of our very eyes, including the Supreme Court, is, if you're not in that class, you're getting screwed.
Yep. And and it's so ironic because what we did, Act 10 protests, was back in 13. I want to say 13. Maybe. And I remember being in Madison for the protest, and a guy came up to me. Everybody had kind of filtered out, and I'm just kind of hanging out at the Capitol. And the white guy came up to me. He said, "You know what? They're going to put you all back in slavery." I'm thinking, isn't Obama president? But his point was, and the point Bentley's making is that, it can change. And I think that a lot of us don't think it can change because it hasn't changed yet. Right. But, the handwriting, it seems to me, is on the wall. And if you're not hearing the prophetic message that if you don't make some changes, this is what can happen. If the bus hits us, it's our fault.
Well, I would say for people who might not, it was a movie. You ever see the movie Antebellum?
Yeah.
Think about that. That movie was written when Trump was in charge. Now he's back, and at first I thought that was really a really interesting movie.
Was that what's her name? Janelle Monáe?
Exactly.
Oh,
that was the movie. Watch that movie, and that was from back when he was the president. Now he comes back the second time, and the mood of the country is very different.
Hey, hold on just a moment. Let me shout out the good folks there, Mr. Nate Luckett, Deacon Mike Jones, good folks there at the new Pitts Mortuary. Good morning, folks. Good morning. Sorry about that, man. I got to do it. They slowed down at the corner. We appreciate you, man. Happy New Year to you all guys, too. All right, go on, man. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just saying things are going to change. And if you are not engaged or unaware, you really going to catch it. And for those of us who are, you got to resist as much as you can. Even during the World War II and the people in the Holocaust and invasion, when Germany invaded Europe, people resisted. You got to have the resistance going on here, man. Guerrilla warfare as much as possible.
And and when you talk about World War II, America was, the whole European piece was just because of treaties that we had adjoined. But the reality is that for America, it was Japan, right? And so what drove a lot of that, I tell people, and I know it sounds so geeky, watch the movie Oppenheimer. First of all, you can see why it was Picture of the Year. I mean, this is just an incredible movie. But this whole idea of, there were some people there because a lot of the scientists who worked on the bomb were Jewish, right?
Yep.
And so they wanted to see it happen in Europe. And it didn't happen in Europe as timing was, because Europe ended in May. I think the European theater ended in May. And then Japan then surrendered after dropping of the bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August of 1945. But that whole idea for folks is that the race, that destructive power, I don't know if they would have dropped that bomb in Europe. I don't think they had a problem dropping the bomb on yellow people or Asian folks.
Exactly. So I mean, this is. I've gone to the alternative media. I mean, granted, you still watch the cable, but there's got to be other outlets, man. Because the traditional news outlets that you thought would tell people would listen to, they're not listening to, and people better find the ear of people who are not going to be conflicted by corporate management saying you can't say certain things or they capitulate, because that's right. Not you. You can't capitulate to this.
Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, and you just have to just go back 50 years with the Washington Post, because it was the Washington Post, New York Times, and others, but specifically the Washington Post, that called out the corruption of the Nixon administration and Watergate. They didn't this year endorse a candidate, and now we know why, right?
Yep.
And so where, that fourth estate, the press, we need a free press, where you're going in and who controls these press outlets then, as you talked about earlier, controls the information that gets out to people who can make a decision, i.e. the voters.
You got it.
All right, man. All right. Happy New Year to you.
Keep on resisting, man.
All right. No McDonald's. You listen to Community Voice. Going to take a break. We'll be right back.
The passing of a loved one is emotional enough without adding the stress of funeral arrangements. By pre-planning, you receive the desires of your heart while taking away the burden from your family. It also saves you money. providing the dignity and respect your memory deserves. And there are times when life ends unexpectedly. Please know that the new Pitts Mortuary is here to lend a helping, caring hand anytime, day or night. We are the new Pitts Mortuary.
The text says the sheep analogy is what we're witnessing. A sheep will follow blindly over the cliff. And what else won't the sheep do? And never look up to see where they are going. As the brother said, we are basically intellectually lazy. And anyway, so I won't be going to McDonald's.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to McDonald's.
Anyway.
You know, and maybe
Okay, so I missed it. So what's it? I don't go to McDonald's anyway, except for a Diet Coke. But what happened with McDonald's?
they ended their DEI.
Oh, wow.
And I know people of color spend an enormous amount of money.
They sure do.
At McDonald's. And it's been killing us. But you know what? So anyway, maybe I'll
It ain't even cheap anymore, so that should be easy to do.
Yeah.
Bypass it.
Yes, I'm getting
It don't even taste the same.
Nah, well, your taste buds have changed too, man.
No, they changed the meat.
Oh, I'm sure about that. The cheaper they can get.
Yeah, the meat ain't the same.
Meat. They're not doing horse meat anymore.
No, they doing squirrel meat now.
Squirrel meat.
Yeah, that was Wendy's.
Yeah. Where's that beef?
Wendy's had a good burger.
Not anymore.
They don't.
I think as Jermaine is saying, you know, corporations come up with ways to kind of deal with their bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like their fries, they stopped using certain types of oil. So.
Well, and you look at what the size of a burger was 40 years ago compared to what it is
the quarter
now.
pounder actually looked like it was a quarter pound.
Now it's
Man, I go to Wendy's now and I ask the question,
where's the beef?
Because this is not beef, man. This is not beef that I'm eating. So.
Okay, well, that depressing. We're Be Healthy VU. Miss Julia Mees was Brenda Buchanan. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I really missed y'all. It was a couple of weeks.
I know.
Yeah, it was. I found myself quoting you a lot.
Don't do that.
Well, Keith said, and my family looking at me like,
Look, Keith. What's up with Keith?
What's up with Keith?
And I can't remember what I was talking
I have,
about.
Sometimes when some of my buddies, we be talking and, we get to talking about, get all strong, talking about our wives and everything. Mm-hmm. And my buddy was telling me do something one day. I said, I'm going to go and say, Blank told me to tell you. And I'm sure the response is going to be, is Blank going to let you move in his basement? Because Blank get ready to get your butt kicked. And you come here talking about what Blank said I should be saying to you, It's like...
My daughter sent me something. It said, this ain't the time of year to get put out.
Oh, man, real talk.
Right,
real talk.
Right.
Traditionally, this is not the time to break up.
That's
you don't want to break up in the wintertime. Shoot, about April 1st, June, I'm gone, because you can sleep outdoors, you can sleep in your car, but shoot, not this time of year.
Not the time.
Oh, thank you for that little bit of remembrance. That is that little advice for people, and that's a health tip.
That's right. Stay healthy,
stay warm. You want to avoid hypertension, hypothermia, and frostbite. Don't get put out.
Nope.
That's right.
Make it work.
Oh, man, don't get put out because, man, you get put out. It is like, whoa.
What they say, humble pie is...
Eat humble pie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, just act like you want to still live here.
That's true.
My mother used to say, just come back the same way you left.
Wow.
You talking all strong leaving.
That's right.
Come on back in here talking like that, because you get to talking, and next thing you know, it's just like, oh, what did I just say? Too late.
Yep.
Too. Yeah, man. Want to make sure that you're, to take care of yourself. Did you? I don't know if you've seen T.D. Jakes' first public appearance. Mm-mm. He was at the Potter's house for New Year's service.
Oh, okay.
And
since he passed out, you mean?
He didn't just pass out.
Oh.
He had a very serious...
Well, I knew it was serious. I didn't know what it was.
Heart.
Oh, it was his heart. I knew it was serious, but I never heard what it was.
Yeah.
So he looks like he's better?
He's lost weight.
Mm-hmm.
And he... And he kept, look, you got to love black preachers, man. Mm-hmm. Use what you got. So he said, you know what? I've been resurrected. I'm sitting up here going like, well, okay, what constitutes resurrection?
That's why Jesus waited till Lazarus so many days.
He was good dead.
Right. He was
like
real
dead. Like you say real dead. He dead. And let me be a black preacher for a moment, because Lord, when he said he had to call Lazarus, because when he said get up, black preachers, gotta love a black preacher.
And then they get to hopping.
Everybody get he had to be specific, because if he was general, everybody would have been popping up.
I'm standing about this conversation.
I'm just helping you with your homiletics, man.
I'll clear this one, Jack. I don't want no parts of this one.
Only a black preacher. Only a black preacher. I could tell. One of my favorite ones was that how a black cow can eat green grass and come out with white milk.
Wow.
Look at
That's profound. That's pretty profound.
They do.
I guess you got a point, man. Yeah,
I'm telling you, I love black preachers.
Oh,
I love
man.
black preachers. I'm gonna tell you, it is a gift. It's a gift from the Creator, man. It's just like, and you sit there because you're always stealing, and you go, "Ooh, dude, that was clever, man. That was clever. Oh, I wish I would have thunk of that. Oh, that was. Oh, but yeah, that one was. Or what was it? It was that God who could make a lemon bitter and an orange sweet. Yeah,
Wow.
man.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I do think Black Baptist preachers are more poetic, especially when they pray. You know that one prayer?
You might be there for a while.
If you want to hear a
Oh
prayer,
my God.
the National Baptist Convention did a recording.
Oh yeah.
And Jasper Williams,
Oh my God.
they play. Oh my God, Jasper
That cat
Williams,
prayed.
he prayed.
He prayed.
And I'm not talking about one of these prayers with I'm talking about
He prayed.
lyrically.
Yeah.
It was just like he started talking about June bugs,
Yeah.
and you going like, and wait a minute, and they had the music going, and then when he got to the point where he get ready to finish, that music just kind of faded, and now it's just Jasper Williams.
And he went in.
And he went in. It was just like, or Charles Adams, the late Charles Adams. They call him the Harvard Hooper. Does the thank you? Does all the thank you and all the different
Yeah, I was
languages.
about to say, who was the cat that did?
That's Charles
Aretha's?
Adams. Yes.
Yeah.
He
So he passed away.
he passed away last year. Yeah, man. The Harvard Hooper.
Yeah.
And man, he ran that down, and he did it at Aretha's funeral. I'd heard him do it
Yeah.
before, but he did it at Aretha's funeral.
Yeah.
And when you get to the part where you get to the deaf, and if I was deaf,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that one. I was
Yeah,
just
that cat
gotta love a black preacher.
Yeah.
prayed.
Gotta love a black preacher, man. I think for us, that I think it's called the Greek word for it is charisma, is the gift, right? Your ability to be able to expound and to pull people in.
Mhm.
That's why I said yesterday, in the last 100 years, T.D. Jakes is one of the greatest preachers to ever walk this planet.
Mhm.
Now, you may or may not get down into some of the particulars of where he is theologically,
Mhm.
but his ability, not only his ability to deliver, how he connects things, his imagery, I mean, that's all the gift.
Mhm.
You know, we talk a lot about, the anointing, I don't know, but to be able to have that gift.
Mhm.
But like in most things, we can abuse that gift or we can use that gift,
Mhm.
so.
Yes. And, because in some faiths, they read off things. They read.
Yeah, your
things.
manuscript.
But,
It depends on what school you went to. The Bible college I went to, it was a manuscript school. I think Morehouse's manuscript, but Bishop College was not manuscript. You don't, and Bishop is now closed, but that ability to be able to do it, I kind of hybrid it. And then I think some of the other influences, obviously, the part of the Catholic tradition when it comes to a homily, which is a sermon, is that it should be no more than 20 to 30 minutes. But there's a guy I loved. He's gone home to receive his reward, the late elder Dennis J. Ward. He would preach. I was looking one day. I'm going, we've been here for an hour and a half. But it was worth the wait, because when he closed, dude, it was just like, what? And then, what adult education kind of gets us back to what we do here, is that adults' attention span is about 22 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking consecutive minutes, 22 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If you think and you might be able to go beyond that, but if you want your substance, it has to be in that 22-minute window, because after that, we back on our phones, we looking up in the air. I think the other thing is not to be repetitive. I know you're trying to make your point you make your points, but here's the reality. And I've dealt with adult education. They don't retain a whole lot of what you're giving them.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't. If you ask people when they walk out of church on Sunday, give me very specifics about what you heard in that message.
A lot of them can't, but if they feel better.
All I know is she preached.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what she was talking about, and that's therapeutic too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the that whole emotional release that they call cathartic, where we just need to purge. I used to watch people, and when they would, I'm a Baptist, so I have to use the term, when they get happy, a lot of times they were very, very sad. They were hurt. They were troubled. And I just need to holler. I just need to holler. And I think that is where we have a lot of times when we're dealing with depression, we just keep putting stuff in. And at some point, what does it say? The pressure makes pipes burst?
Yes, it does.
And so that a lot of times that's what we're dealing with. And it begins to impact on our health, because, we're just so eternalizing things to the point. And because I don't know if we're taught not to express it. Now, there's some people, they ain't got no filters.
Yes.
They feeling what they feeling, and they gonna say what they gonna say. And look, just cause you old don't give you the right to say it.
No. Nope.
I'm old now. It was messed up when you was young. It's still messed up now. I'm old now. That gives you the right to, because you be hurting people's feelings and the whole thing. Oh yeah, man. And they just what did Carlton Pearson called it? He called it sweet mean. He was talking about some mother.
Mean.
Sweet mean.
He was talking about some mother in this church, and he was saying she just sweet mean because look, the other piece of it is what I bring. We were talking yesterday. I had the good folks here from Milwaukee County's Department of Health and Human Services. A lot of times our attitudes about the people that we serve. And that sometimes people have a very condescending attitude towards those folks. And then we have to also take into account, like, a lot of people feel like, oh, you're just trying to be politically correct. No, sometimes we need to identify biases, because biases can get in the way of our service delivery. If you're a doctor with a certain bias towards, let's say, Black men, and you believe that, we see this with high blood pressure in the treatment of Black men when it comes to high blood pressure. We see it in treatment when it comes to not just Black men, Black women, when it comes to pain.
Yes.
Right. How we're not pain prescribed like other folks are, because either we're supposed to be so much stronger we can withstand the pain.
Or, they used to say we had less pain receptors. And so that was the medical reason why, is that we had less pain. We know that's not true, but that's what
it hurt.
That's what they believed, and that's what they taught. Which
That
is
hurt.
ridiculous.
It hurt.
Say, why you crying? Because it hurt.
Right.
I ain't that much of a man. They're going to go in and just kind of suck it up. You see those football players out there crying. They crying for a couple reasons. One, I'm probably done for the season. And two, it's hurting. It's hurting. When you get that pain where you got tears in your eyes, it's hurting.
Yeah.
I
bumped my head one time coming up from a cabinet. And I was like,
Man. Listen here, man. I hit my toe.
Oh, the toe.
I hit my toe on the corner of the bed.
oh, that's gross.
And you talking about pain.
Yes.
It was so much pain, I got mad. And the person that was there was like, suck it up, buttercup. I'm like,
I'm going to suck you up.
yeah, I'm going to suck you so you can suck it up.
Me too. That's a bad one to hit.
When you hear women talk about give me an epidermal when they pray, because they're in pain. Pain is real, and we can, man, it hurt. I mean, it, and then it's the type of pain where you didn't do any lasting injury, but in that moment, in that moment, man, you just feel like, oh man, I felt so bad. Maybe, I don't know if DJ is listening, maybe Christian Watson shouldn't have played. Or
I was surprised to see him in, honestly. And on such a cold day when he's recovering from an injury.
And he did more damage. They said that knee is really in bad shape.
So he's going to be gone at least 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's going to be
Yeah.
out for a long
do
time.
he still get his money?
Oh yeah, he still get his money,
Well,
but he
it's-
can't play.
Conditional too, because with your contracts.
No,
if
with
you
your
don't
injury
meet-
though, they got to pay you.
Yeah, well, yeah.
As soon as you get healthy, they're gonna cut you.
Oh yeah, they're gonna cut you up out of
They're
there.
gonna cut you. Edgar
Mhm.
Bennett, you know, he was in his option year. He gets hurt.
Yeah,
They
because
cut
you
him.
ain't gonna be the same.
You're not gonna be the
No.
same. In
And
football.
I really like him.
Yeah.
So it was
Who's that?
heartbreaking.
Christian Watson.
To
It's
see him
hard.
go down like
Oh,
that.
no hands, Christian Watson.
Man, hands
Great
like feet.
speed. Yeah, hands like feet. There's a dude used to do. There was a dude back in the day. He was fast. His name was Rocky Thompson. And they used to say, yeah, he got hands like rocks. That dude could not hold on to a football. But yeah, I mean, that question about putting people out there games that are meaningless,
Yeah.
he was already hurt.
And that's
Yeah,
what I'm
he
saying.
was.
And then it was a non-contact injury.
Yeah, so it's over.
Yeah. So that just tells you he wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready. I mean, you put him out
Mm.
there in a game that really
Don't matter.
right, because you couldn't
Yeah, it
count on the
didn't matter.
Cowboys to do what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, but even
That's what I
if
get
you
for
would've-
cheering for the Cowboys.
Yeah. But even if they would have won, they still would have been where they at.
Where they are, right?
Washington
Because
won.
Washington won.
Yeah, so
Right.
So-
there was no benefit.
yeah, there's no
Right.
benefit.
Right. Now, unlike well, that's great. We're having a sports conversation with the Leafs. Unlike my guy Mike Evans,
Oh yeah.
he got $3 million. I'd be out there playing.
Oh yeah.
He got $3 million. Yeah, because those incentives, and that was why some of the other guys was playing. But we were arguing about whether or not Saquon Barkley should have played. Nope. And I understand you want to break the record, but you
Man.
don't want to break your leg.
You don't want to
Yeah.
break yourself.
Going into the playoffs, what you say, break yourself.
Break yourself.
Yeah. So anyway, well, it's the new year.
Yes.
It's the new year,
It is the new year.
and people feel like they have to start new. So a lot of people make resolutions,
Mm-hmm.
and it'd be interesting to see how many of our listeners made resolutions. But do you keep them?
Friday is National Quit Day.
Oh,
This coming Friday is National Quit Day.
National Quit for what?
All the people who started off the year working out, this is the Friday that many of them will quit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is to the point. There was a Peloton. They did a whole marketing thing about
yeah,
don't sign up with
Peloton.
us if you're going to quit, because we don't want you because you're going to quit.
Well, you don't even see them advertising anymore.
Yeah, they were having some other issues too at Peloton.
Right. Well, people spent all that money. They bought the they drank the Kool-Aid and everybody went out and got that. And then once people could get back into gyms, they weren't interested in that as much.
So when we talk about that, and there, I don't know why we're on this whole calendar piece. Maybe that's easy for people to kind of go like, January 1st, I'll start the new year. I was asking my mom, I said, well, Mom, what do you want to eat? And my mom said, well, we've been eating so good since Thanksgiving. And I thought about that. Just maybe that's it, that we're trying to
Lose the weight that we put
well, there
on during the
definitely
holidays.
is statistically average weight gain from, Halloween to New Year's, like 8 to 10 pounds.
Really?
Most people gain.
Did you weigh yourself?
I never weigh myself. Only time I'm weighed is when I go to the doctor. They said that we should really try to avoid scales.
Who said that?
They,
Wow.
you know them is they. Them is they. They say, and you go, who's they? Them.
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 And the number 2 really is to exercise and lose weight. Those are the most common resolutions that people make.
People also do I'm going to be better financially.
Yes.
That was one on here.
Yeah. But those are, when you say those words, they're so big, like so vast, like I'm going to lose weight. Well, you got to break that down. How are you going to do that? You got to make individual steps.
Not
to
a
get
plan.
You there. Yeah.
Not a
It's
plan.
not just say I'm going to, well, what does that mean? I mean, what are the steps you're going to take to do that? Short term, long term, are you going to set a goal that you cut so many calories a week, or you go to the gym twice a week? And at this time, I mean, the more specific you can be, the more likely you are to stick to it.
Well, a lot of people join memberships.
They join, but they don't have a plan. They just join and think it's going to.
That's why
and then
they're quitting.
Then they fill the gyms.
You
but
can't
you
get
know,
in them.
huh?
Oh, the beginning of the year, you can't. Don't even try it. And and sometimes it would be the same people I would see when I used to go to the gym at the beginning of the year, and right about mid-January, don't see them anymore. Then come back next year to begin another year. They're back. So should it be? We talk about this. I think the weight loss for some of us is really vanity,
not health related.
Not health related. Which do you think would be more of a motivator? The health component of it, like I'm gonna die, or
I think it depends on who you are. Especially if the younger people or people who just want to look better. How many people do you meet that don't want to lose weight? Right? The majority of people you meet say, "Oh yeah, I could lose a few pounds," or "I'd like to lose some weight," but they have no plan to do it. And a lot of that is for vanity. But when I look at women who are, especially women, because those are the ones we really, really for vanity are on it the most. Like preparing for a wedding, a woman can lose weight. They will hire a personal trainer. They will hire a person to plan their meals. But again, those are specific steps, right? They can lose that weight and look great by their wedding, but when your doctor tells you, you've got fatty liver disease and your heart is failing because there's so much fat around it, that evokes fear, not just vanity, and you want to make changes. So that doesn't make it any easier. It's still hard. You still have to have a concrete plan in order to do it. I don't know. I think health is a motivator for many people, but for especially women, I think vanity often is a big motivator.
And here's the problem with vanity. It is but a vapor.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I mean, it comes and it goes. And then you get depressed because you're not losing the weight as quickly. I shouldn't say depressed. Frustrated. Mm-hmm. So then you say it don't matter. And then you go like,
more.
Yeah, well, kind of like, well, how you going to lose it that much in 30 days when it took you 30 years
to put it on? Yeah. They want it quick.
So then we should be more realistic.
Realistic goal setting. If you got to lose 50 pounds, you don't just say you're going to lose 50 pounds. Maybe start out with 10. Focus on that first 10. What are you going to do to lose those first 10 pounds?
Well, I just lost a couple pounds because McDonald's was off the menu. Please, Kentucky Fried Chicken, please do not end your DEI. Shakita put me on the spot. She said, so what about that Kentucky Fried Chicken?
When was the last time you went there? She just bust you out, didn't she?
That was something I repeated of yours because I said, can you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Not regularly.
They said, where is one?
Well, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, right on North Avenue.
Yeah, just like finding the dope house. It's just finding the crack house.
There's a Taco Bell over there on North Avenue.
60, right across the street from McDonald's.
Yep.
Oh, 64th is like 60.
No, 67th.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, because it's McDonald's over here.
And then they just put a new
across the street. You got a
Taco Bell. They put a new wing spot over there.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
A new wing spot.
Oh yeah, I haven't been in there.
It's okay.
Is it?
They
put a lot of restaurants in there. Now they've got
growlers.
Yeah, what's the chicken? Crafty Cow.
Yeah, Crafty Cow's been there for a minute. I used to go to Crafty.
But I mean, they developed all that area and they put a lot of restaurants in there.
Well, they did a couple of things.
You never had Crafty Cow?
No, I love a seasoned bird. So
Crafty Cow.
Crafty Cow, but actually, it's their burger. Their chicken. It used to be Hothead's Chicken down in Bayview on KK.
Hothead.
Right. So the chicken that you get, because Hothead Chicken was. You ever had? Hothead's Chicken is first with the huge pieces of chicken, and I'm talking brine, and then I'm talking like that deep hard fry, and It's good chicken.
Really?
Yeah, and they have chicken and waffles, which is very good. At
Well, if I
Crafty
go to
Cow.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, when I go to Kentucky Fried Chicken,
check it out.
it's usually pretty. I do the same thing every time I go anyway. So, but I'm a little concerned. I'm surprised that every time I go in for my physicals, that my cholesterol is not high.
Well, you do take a medication too, don't you?
Oh.
Because remember, you stopped taking it. What happened?
It went up.
There you go.
Oh, well.
And you know, a lot
Thank
of
you,
people.
Brenda.
Yes.
You did take something. You keep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Solved that
right.
one right
That
away.
helps.
It wasn't my great effort. It wasn't my diet. It's medication.
A lot of people will stop taking their cholesterol medication.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Well,
like, why?
because they don't feel it.
You
It's
can't
not
see
like
it.
yeah, it's not like people say, oh, but some of that chest pain you get, it can be because of your really high levels of cholesterol. You know, everything's blocked, so your heart's not getting all the oxygen that it needs because it's such a narrow path. But I think people just think, oh, I don't feel it, so it's no big deal. But high cholesterol will kill you very quickly.
That
I
was
was
a wonder drug.
when Richard Pryor was talking about his heart attack, right? And now I had to go back because now we got a history when he did it in real time. It was the pork. It wasn't the pork. It was the cocaine. That had your heart.
That's right.
And he was going, it was the pork.
Heart going.
I'm
blood
sure if you
vessels
ate some
narrow.
pork, it didn't help, but it was the cocaine, dude. You know, in terms that's not good for the heart.
No.
You know,
Oh
that
my
is
gosh, no.
operating like that. And
Matter of fact, for a long time, most men that had heart attacks in their 40s was because of cocaine.
oh, I can see it. I mean, you know, in terms of that stimulus that you get. What are some of the things that people say, like they're going to drink less soda?
Well, this is dry January too. Remember, they say dry January, no
Okay.
alcohol in
Okay.
January.
Okay.
A lot of people do that.
But you
I don't drink anyway. So.
what you say, Bree?
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
But I'm not.
Say what up?
There's some people out there that do that.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people that
Which
that
is
do
crazy
that.
because, you know, we go into, most people were drinking New Year's Eve. going
Right,
into
and
New
then
Year's
they're waiting
Day.
till February 1st. They're like sitting there waiting. Midnight.
But I think you get away with it because Super Bowl's not till February.
That's true.
So you can, okay, so people dry January.
But you know, when you said soda, that's actually can be a pretty realistic goal because you're not saying I'm going to cut down on all these things. I'm going to pick one thing and that's what I'm going to focus on. We've had diabetic patients that just cut down on their soda has dropped their A1C because they're drinking so much of it. We had a gentleman, remember, I was drinking a couple, 2 liters a day of Mountain Dew.
Wow.
First of all that caffeine is working on his heart.
And
That's
the
all
sugar.
a lot. And then the sugar for his diabetes. So
Wow. Quick question.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not the medical expert here.
but well, I'm just gonna put it out there. Actually, guys,
Play
Now-
one on radio.
I see that the Surgeon General just put a warning out for alcohol and wine and all of this stuff. So now they're saying that it.
Now they tell us.
you know what? We've always known that
It has.
alcohol has contributed to certain types of cancers, but now they've done more and more studies, and specifically breast and colon are the ones that have a lot of evidence for it. But then they know when you look at cancers with people who drink moderately, which is that 1 drink a day for women, 2 for men, and that's like real, not like a big old giant, 40 ounce, not 2 of those, a regular beer. When you look at that as opposed to people who drink more than that, there are significant differences in cancer rates. But breast and colon are the 2 that they have a lot more evidence on.
So is it the sugar?
Alcohol's a poison.
It's a poison.
Your body, it's a lot for your body to deal with, to process alcohol. And that's why I say if you're having that one recommended drink that you could have, not recommend that you have one every day, but, for a woman, the max should be 1 drink a day. But that's not what, especially in Wisconsin, we're a binge drinking state, which is anything over 3.
I just don't.
And we know
understand.
we're way above 3.
I just don't understand, because I just asked if it was the sugar, and you said alcohol is poison. How can they make this stuff legal? Because normally with something that's poisoning, it comes with a skull head and bones, and it tells you to keep away from children and things like that.
A lot of toxins in your body. I mean, there's a lot of toxins. I think we use the term poison, but it's toxin, right? I mean,
it's a poison.
Poison.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
it's a poison.
All right.
That's why, you've heard of alcohol poisoning.
Yep.
When people start to, for lack of not using the correct term, throw up.
Right.
That's because that's the body's way of trying to protect you.
Get rid of.
So you've got too much in there, and so your body starts to throw up to get rid of that, because you're going to a very your blood alcohol level is getting too high. Well, cigarettes are still legal, and we know the significant amount of damage they cause people. We have a lot of direct evidence, but they're still legal too. Alcohol and nicotine, they have so much power and money and control.
I think it's also
country.
it generates a lot of money for the state.
It's
It's a income generator. When you look at gambling, it's an income generator. I mean, it's one of the things back in the day when we were using cannabis illegally in the dorm room. We know it was cannabis, it was weed, and we would sit around. And once we got to a certain level of enlightenment, we would go, man. Oh, when do you think they're gonna make this legal? And I remember everybody saying when they can tax it. And once you got to the point, and then I think attitudes kind of changed. Like if you look at America's attitudes towards smoking, I was watching. It's called Hacks. I don't know. I just started watching Hacks, right? I've been watching it. And they were in Vegas. And I guess Vegas, you still smoke indoors? I haven't been to Vegas.
I know, like in the casinos and stuff, they still.
Yeah, you can still smoke. And so you had there, and I'm sitting up thinking, like, that is so, even now when you watch a movie or television and they do the warnings, they will tell you they're smoking, but you have a whole generation so anti-smoking. Like they never picked up a cigarette, where in my generation, for some, it was a rite of passage. The first time you get out. And then some people kept up smoking, others didn't. But I knew people were smoking when I was in junior high school.
Yeah.
Because they thought it made you look older, you're more mature and cool. And then they market it. Yeah. And then the tobacco companies realized, well, if we want to hit a particular market, then we're going to do menthol. Right. And so then that's when Salem's and Cools and then Black Death happened, Newports.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't want to smoke nothing that's Black Death. That's one.
But Newport gets you in, man. The way Newports get you in, and then it got you, man. Yeah, I started smoking Newports at Our Avenue. It got me in, dude.
Yeah, because I tried it one time, man.
Yeah, I used to be the playground coach there.
Seeing somebody, just, and it looked cool, just... So I tried it, and that menthol hit me, and I was like, "What is this thing?" Like it was so nasty to me. But you can tell it just. I don't know if it was the menthol that was in it that just opened up something in you.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
when kids were doing ecstasy or Molly, they want menthol cigarettes because what ecstasy and Molly does is it expands your sensory things, so things feel better, colors are brighter, and so the stimulus you get from the menthol,
that's true,
it just enhanced the high, so you're able to, you touch things and go, wow, that's it
does something to the mind.
Well, it does something. I don't know how it does it with the sensory piece. I'm talking about physically, how it impacts your sensory things. That's but then, like most things with kids, because it used to be that ecstasy was legal. But then, because you have young folks, and I think the term that Brenda started off, binging, because your tendency to binge when you're young, because you just feel like it ain't gonna kill me.
Right. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have the experience.
Your body responds a little bit differently.
Absolutely.
Than when your a buddy of mine had a 60th birthday party. I'm like, dude, how you getting drunk at 60? And not a judgment piece. Right. I'm just saying you gonna feel it.
Oh my God, for days.
For days. When you used to talk about I'm hurting, you gonna be hurting like you just because you're gonna be dehydrated. Just a whole lot of things that kind of go into it. I think moderation is always the thing. But I think the other thing that makes alcohol, people want to sometimes escape their reality.
Oh, that's why people do a lot of different substances.
Right.
It's an escape. It relaxes them. Plus, some people are predisposed to addiction. Alcohol. I mean, you look at it in families, passed on generation. There's somebody I was just talking to recently. His father was an alcoholic, eventually got clean, but all the children except one became alcoholics. And the one that didn't, his lineage is very different, whereas theirs, I mean, now to the point where even their young people, the next generation who's in their 20s, are now, and they're actually going through treatment. Even at young early, because that's how bad it's gotten. So there definitely is a genetic component to some of these addictions, but self-medicating is a big deal. Depression, anxiety, other mental health issues,
And that's the key. You have to understand that addiction is a mental health issue.
And it's also physiological too, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the substance, right?
Absolutely.
Because Keon had pointed something out, and I'm always pushing back on Keon because it's Keon, right? But he talked about when he had gone into rehab, or he wanted to go into rehab, and he was dealing with cocaine, and they were going like, "Dude, that is not physically addictive." When you go into when it's psychologically addictive, right? Where if you're talking about using an opiate, right, your body starts craving for it.
Yeah.
Like nicotine, your body will crave. And so the withdrawals that you have when people try to get off nicotine is similar to the withdrawals people have when they're trying to kick heroin.
So I have a question for you. Is there a difference between learned behavior and it being passed down through generations?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I mean, it can be, there are people that don't have a family history that, again, stress reliever, things going on in their life. Most people don't set out and say, well, I just want to drink too much and be an alcoholic, but they get used to it. And then they need a little bit more, because you have that one drink and you're relaxed. Maybe a couple months later, maybe you need 2 drinks to relax. People get addicted before they even have a clue that they're addicted. And even when they're severely addicted, they still will tell you they're not addicted. But it's dangerous because some people who have drank for so long that when they try to come off, they need to be medically managed. They can't just detox at home because they might not survive it, I think I told you before when Julie and I both used to add rep at the hospital. One of the worst ones I had, this young lady was only 21 years old, yet had to be in the ICU because she was in multi-organ failure from detoxing. Trauma, people, but when you peel back the layers of people who have addictions, the majority of them have some genetic and or mental health issues on that. When we say mental health, it doesn't have to be like bipolar, schizophrenia, anxiety, severe anxiety, depression.
You used the term every trauma.
And so you have to, when you get people off alcohol, they're like, oh, they're detox, they're great. That's just the beginning. They're going to have years, probably lifelong, of dealing with what got them in the first place.
So do you, is there something like addictive personality? Is that right? So it might not be alcohol.
Could be food.
It could be food, which, we don't talk about as I don't know if you've seen the Luther Vandross documentary.
That was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, but when he said, when I get up in the morning, I'm thinking about food. I think about food all day. And I think that him dealing with and it was almost cyclical, right? Because the issue was his weight. Okay. And then, it's like Karen Carpenter. To watch this woman literally die in front of your eyes because she thought she was fat. That is
crazy.
what is it? That's not bulimia.
Dysmorphia, body dysmorphia.
Right. And that gets back to what you're talking about, where, women are body conscious because we sexualize women to the point that is what makes you attractive is physical for men, because we just so deep. Like people, wow, what attracted to you to him? His personality from across the room?
Right. Yeah, definitely wasn't that.
Right. When you walked over there, but no, I mean, I have not been attracted to anybody because of their personality from across the room, never having a conversation with them. But I think that we do that. But this idea that we're going to be addicted to something, and then
and you see that when people do deal with an addiction, like let's say it's alcohol, they find another addiction. And sometimes that's food. Sometimes it's, you can find a good addiction, but oftentimes they just find what's, you look at Alcoholics Anonymous, what do? They drink coffee all day long. And I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but that is another way to replace that whole obsession.
Because when we back in the day at Metropolitan, we had AA come in and meet in the basement, and at that point there was. But man, it was like, and they be in our choir room, so we knew where the AA met because they're down there smoking.
Right, they find a different addiction.
Right, you're dealing with. Do you think all of us have something that we might be susceptible to addiction for or to?
Well, I think everybody, could, based on, what's going on in your life. Again, people don't seek out to have an addiction, but you see people addicted to exercise, addicted. You see people obsessive compulsive disorder that are, you could call it an addiction to what their home looks like. I had a friend that she could have 10 people in her home having dinner. And if she saw a spot of dust on the ceiling, she got out of that chair, went there, and was just, obsessive about it.
Well, I know mine kick in. Like when I clean, and I want to preface it when I clean, that, I get specific, like, oh man, what about that little corner there? And you're right. One little thing my buddy Bobby used to say, Keith, stop messing with perfection. Like you have it, but there's something. I need to go and talk to someone, I think. I think I need to go talk to someone. I'm here, Jackie laughing. I just, because human beings we come with some stuff, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We do. and we live in a world that is there's so much trauma in this world that certainly doesn't help with these kinds of issues.
But how can we, if we have good, we're going to have bad, right? So of course, is it how we then deal with trauma? Which seems like
this is the thing with trauma, especially if you've had a lot of trauma, you don't necessarily know it's trauma. That's your norm. You live in a chaotic, maybe there's a lot of arguing and stuff going on. You don't realize that's trauma. Or, when you look at things that are trauma, a divorce, for the children or for the parents, we don't realize that those may have long lasting issues. It's usually when you get to be adults, when things are not right. And people help you look back and see that we've all had trauma in our life, every single one of us. But some of us have had help going through it. Some of us have, you've recognized it in other people. Sometimes just calling it out and realizing that, I've had some rough stuff in my life, and maybe this is why I do things this way.
50% of the cure is realizing that you have a problem. I think that sometimes, and even then, I don't know how you do it to the point where you don't beat yourself up. I know there's this balance between I need to be honest about what I see, but don't get to the point, because that happens a lot of times with folks too, where They're just so overwhelmed by what they see in themselves. Like, and I'm gonna throw a term out there. Like we use this term like beauty, right? And we have standards of beauty, and if people don't reach those standards of beauty, it's like people addicted to plastic surgery. And you didn't think that was a thing, but that's a thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure. They keep changing and changing.
For people that can afford it.
And when again, a lot of these, when they look in the mirror, they don't see what we see. They see something very different. They see the not so good things, whereas we might see the big picture. And because there's so many people that had plastic surgery that are beautiful that didn't, but what they saw was a flaw. And they did it. And then that just makes you fix that. It becomes addictive,
How do we then, we talk about trauma, but, influences that we have in the world that we live in, right? And because we are we sensual? Is it sensual, right? We're sensual people in terms of our senses, that those things is, what we see. Like I was asking somebody, so who do you dress for? I dress for me. I'm gonna push back on that a little bit.
Well, if that's the case, what I look like at home is
right.
Definitely
if I'm
not.
dressing for me,
Right.
If y'all want to see me incognito bumping into me on Saturday, you walk past me like
walk in my house Saturday morning.
Right.
You might be surprised.
But because I think that there is a term out there, failure to thrive. We talk about it with kids, talk about it when people get older. But that importance of human connection that we get something from that, right?
Well, I know Julia has brought up the loneliness is like literally killing people nowadays.
And I'm gonna go spiritual on all of this, cause
that's a surprise. Really?
Because I've seen alcoholics who've given their life to Christ and they stop. And even with all of the physical and whatever, seeing people who smoke stop. And it has to do, and I've seen people who have mental health issues that are connected deeply to the church and their faith, and they live better lives, so they're how that Mary said you can take them shackles off. Those shackles can be released.
So let me do my DA, devil's advocate, just for all you listeners.
Here come.
What happens? Here comes. What happens though if the church is taken away from you?
The church is supposed to be in you.
But I'm just saying, but it's also that physical piece where you're there.
You know what? Yeah, you do. But and that's where a lot of times we have to, people get so hard on the church. They ain't right. They ain't this, that. You have to have, you got to realize that your pastor, your leader is a man or is a human, and you have to
and a woman. You can say we have some women.
Yeah, we do, and you have to be grateful, thankful, forgiving, willing. It's a lot of spiritual healthiness that you get from being brought up in the church and the different faith that you have, and the Bible teaches, but you still have to be strong. There's some people that are strong in different ways. If the church fall, they fall. But if that ministry falls, they fall. But you should be able, after you've been in it for so long, you should be able to you grow and you understand more. Like they said, when you were a child, but I think you should mature. When you've been in the church for so long, you should mature. You should be mature. Because if you didn't have the faith that you have, you still be smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
So there is. Here you go. Be the devil's advocate.
Boy, this dude.
Well, I think like Keith has brought, one doesn't negate the other. You got both together, then like say for an example, a person who's schizophrenia, clearly they need their medicine from a pharmacological standpoint and a health standpoint, but that person being surrounded in a church that supports them and they feel valued, and that makes a huge difference in the quality of their life.
That you feel valued. And we don't always feel value, and we don't always value ourselves, obviously, from some of the self-destructive behavior that we do. It might be a question about how we value, which gets me back to T.D. Jakes. And I appreciated the fact he talked about the prayer warriors, all those people, the intercessors that prayed for him. But when it got down to it, they had to get him to a doctor.
Of course. And I'm
now he could have stayed there and y'all could have prayed and he would have been dead. Right. So I think us understanding that it is and that's a tough one, because especially for us as descendants of enslaved African people, we need to be clear that there's a Greek term for God being all powerful. God is omnipotent. God is all powerful. The question though becomes maybe something that I heard my science professor at American Baptist said this. He called it Newton law of the gaps. He said, man gets to a point where he can go or she can go no further. God fills in the gaps. So we do all we can do to make sure medically we could do what we did for T.D. Jakes. Then the prayer becomes, and then here's the other piece of it. What's his attitude towards recovery? Because he said something that was key. He said, the doctor told me to sit down. I sat down. He listened, because a lot of us, even though we had this episode, we don't listen to what the medical professionals are telling you that you got to do. And I think that was a great message for him to give to the congregation, that, when you go in, if you look, there are instances, medical science does not negate God.
Right. And I want to add to that. I think
people need to be clear on that.
Yeah.
And then I got to think real quick, because I don't want to lose this thought.
Yeah.
Part of why a lot of us dealt with faith is because we didn't have health insurance. Hell, we couldn't afford to go to the doctor. I mean, that's real talk. I mean, it was just like, so what got us through? And then you realize that all the debilitating things that were happening to folks, when you look at people who were dealing with untreated diabetes, but a lot of it was they had to wait till it gets to a point where it's crisis before they even go to a doctor.
Right.
Here's one of the great benefits of having health care is that you can go to a doctor. That it ain't going to require supernatural intervention, because you're able to identify it quickly. And then, of course, you have to follow then what it is that you're doing. And then I think that's when your faith needs to kick in, because some days you just don't see it. I'm going to make your point.
But I was going to say, even with faith, Jesus kept a doctor around him. Luke was a doctor.
And the woman who had the issue of blood, saying we're getting all biblical in this piece, had exhausted everything.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of us are. If you got a pancreatic cancer diagnosis, medical science can do all it can do. It can tell you it's still one of the more deadly cancers that we have. And then all you have now is faith.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of it is, and I did this a lot in prayer, is that if you accept the concept of the will of God, I don't know if we can change the will of God. So part of that is me accepting what is the will of God. That's a hard one.
Hezekiah turned his.
I was about to go in there, because I don't think, but this is the thing with that, because I was studying on that, looking at that. Hezekiah didn't change the will. God went and redeemed the time. He went back and he redeemed the time. So it's not changing his will. He just prolonged.
What did Jesus say in Gethsemane?
Not your will.
It's not
my will. But your will.
Yeah. Nevertheless.
Yes,
right.
sir.
So now that is. Yeah. And there seemed to be some questioning there. I think I'd heard 3 different times that there were questions. People do question God.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
he expects it.
I mean, I don't think it's a
Worship.
sin to question God, because when Christ was dying on the cross, he asked, "Why have thou forsaken me?"
Oh, one of the major things, it was kind of in Sunday school lesson, Sunday school lesson, this idea, where's God? In negative situations, where's God?
Yeah.
Sometimes he allow you to go through it because it makes you.
God is where God has always been.
Come on, man.
Which side? Be healthy,
Give you
be
offering.
you. Beginning of the year. Because I
Give you offering, Doc.
Can we do some lines here? Can I get the $1,000 line right here?
You got the dollar line.
No. The dollar line is the last
You
line.
ain't gonna get no blessing with that.
Hey, wasn't no clanking in there though.
Hey,
right?
yeah, right. But no ching going on.
I want that quiet money. That was remember that. Don't give me that quiet money. Community voice.
Take my dollar.
Be healthy, be you, Miss Julie Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan, the first program of the year. We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back.
The passing of a loved one is emotional enough without adding the stress of funeral arrangements. By pre-planning, you receive the desires of your heart while taking away the burden from your family. It also saves you money, providing the dignity and respect your memory deserves. And there are times when life ends unexpectedly. Please know that the new Pitts Mortuary is here to lend a helping, caring hand anytime, day or night. We are the new Pitts Mortuary.
talking, something happened, and he go, yep, there you go.
Yeah, there you
Call the dim gays. There you go. Every time something happened. There were people who said 9/11 happened because of gays.
What?
No, 9/11 happened because bin Laden was very upset that America put troops in Saudi Arabia, which is sacred for Islam.
Mm.
And that was the straw that broke the camel's back for bin Laden.
Mm.
Not because of gayness. All right.
But I can never forget the walk that President Obama had when he came down to talk about how bin Laden was caught and killed. He had a stroll. He had a black man stroll.
The Obama
He
swag.
always does.
Obama swag. The man. Obama was so smooth. I saw him. I saw the first time, or only time I ever saw him in person. No, second time. Second time. I saw him at Labor Fest. And he got on that stage so slick. I was just like, look.
Right.
He had some swag for a dude who grew up in Hawaii.
He sure did. He had a lot of swag.
But when he walked down there to say that he got over bin Laden.
And you know what's crazy? The night before, this is the night of the Washington Correspondents' Dinner,
Mm-hmm.
where he insulted Donald Trump. That was in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I think Donald Trump, or whenever it was, decided that he was going to run for president because Obama wore him out.
Mm-hmm.
He wore him out. It wasn't even, and Trump didn't think it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he got on to him talk about the consequences of decisions, and he said, "I know what I do is probably not the same as what you do on The Apprentice in terms of importance." He wore him out, but yeah, Obama had incredible swag.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
I don't know how he got away with it, but he all right.
Well, people complained about certain things. Well,
That
even when he
tan
wore
suit.
that tan suit, Lord, you would think that he had committed treason.
I was talking. I had a great opportunity to have a conversation with Valerie Jarrett, and we were just talking about. I don't know if that was leading up to the 2020 election, and she was doing a comparison between Trump and Obama, and all the scandals that was going on in the Trump administration. And I just said in passing, I said, "Yeah, just thinking they're trying to impeach him over a tan suit," and then she came back to that like, let's think about that. Our biggest controversy
was a tan
suit, or the time he was chewing nicotine gum and people trying to figure out why is he chewing gum.
Mm-hmm.
This is our focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, making resolutions, should we change it? Because it seems that we're failing. Should we say goal setting? I think you had used that term.
Well, I mean, I guess you can use the word resolution, but with that, you have to be practical and you have to be strategic. You have to break it down. Just like I said, just saying, I want to eat better. Well, what does that mean? Do you want to add more veggies to your diet? Do you want to have at least 2 servings of veggies a day? You got to be more specific and make those goals attainable. Something that you can actually do. You got to break it down into little steps. And, you can set these goals all year, right? We pick New Year's, but if that doesn't work for you, then set a new goal.
Yeah, I'm really kind of conscious. You asked me about the scale. I was really, really conscious just what the caloric intake was. We've talked about this where you go to restaurants now and they put down what the calories are.
The nutritional guidelines.
You just messed you up.
They have to. That a lot of that came out of the whole McDonald's, that controversy, and that was it Supersize It, and all of that. A lot of that came out of there. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the food, like there's over at at Mayfair. What's the one bigger restaurant over there out in the parking?
Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, Cheesecake Factory. I like their Korean cauliflower. Now you think cauliflower pretty good, but obviously it's fried with the sauce. It's like 1,200 calories.
That's
That's
most of your caloric intake for a day.
Yeah,
right?
And that's just with you. So people will look at that, think, "Oh, cauliflower, that's a healthy, appetizer. I'm going to get that." Well, it's probably got more in it than just about anything on there. So
Is it good?
it's
Does it taste good?
delicious.
I've never.
It is the best.
That's probably why I never
That's
tried
what
it.
Best
really matters.
cauliflower I've ever. It is delicious.
That's what really matters. If it,
Yeah, because you're not gonna eat it every day, but that's right.
but you can.
I was gonna say, yeah, you live close
You
enough.
live close
you
enough,
get
and
some
it
of that
becomes your
cauliflower.
thing where there's certain things there, and again, the fried food. But I don't know what it is. I don't know whoever came up with the idea. I was looking up one time where fried chicken came from, and they were saying that a lot of cultures in the world fried food.
Make it taste better, probably.
Oh yeah, I would think. And then when you actually, I'm gonna tell you what's really awful. Like if you get like organic chicken,
It don't taste good.
it don't taste like chicken.
Mm.
Right.
Not the chemical
not the
ridden
chemically
chicken we're used to.
flavor infused chemicals that you put in the
Right.
chicken. I mean, it's
It's a wonder we all alive. With all the stuff that's in the food and
maybe
water.
maybe we're living longer because all the preservatives in the food.
Right. Right. That's what's keeping us up right now. Because I always talk about that loaf of bread I bought from Aldi's that lasted 3 months.
Right.
Like, whoa, what you put? Because if you buy fresh bread,
Oh,
it's about 2-3 days.
yeah, I'll say 2-3 days.
Where you go in. But how does a loaf of bread last for a whole year?
Kind of frightening.
Yeah.
Not to mention the plastic that we put it in, which is having an impact on our planet.
They were talking about the baby food having lead in it. Like, why would they put lead in baby food?
That explains it. Why it tastes so bad.
Maybe it's what they prepare it in or something. Maybe
and I feel bad for any baby who had to eat those green peas.
Oh, green peas.
Man, I feel bad for those babies, but their taste buds hadn't really developed in terms of what it was. But then I thought even when I was up until I became like an adult, I had a pretty pedestrian taste in terms of what food was. It wasn't, I don't even know if I ever tasted the food. I was so busy just eating, swallowing. Yeah, man. I mean, it's just, but that's the other thing though, especially people talk about food, smoking, that oral fixation, that oral satisfaction you get from, or talking. That's another thing. You hear people talking all the time, hand to mouth, but being able to, so there's a certain satisfaction you get because of that oral thing that you're doing with folks. Like one of the funny things was that, if I called Julia, I'd light up a cigarette.
Most people are smoking on the phone.
Yeah. And just smoking and talking to Julia.
First thing when they get up in the morning.
Well, that gets stuff moving.
So is that normal?
Yeah, but it's still, that's not why you're doing it. I mean, you're addicted to getting up in the morning and getting your cigarette. You've been all night without nicotine.
Right.
So when you get up in the morning, your body's like, well, you need to hit that. You need some nicotine.
Take it to the head.
We've been going.
You so crazy, kid. That ain't how you drink a 40.
You gotta take it to the head.
Take it to the head.
Oh, brown plastic bag.
So they say, you so crazy, kid.
See, for me, man, I can't, fathom what it's like because I don't know what addictions is like because I don't have one to smoking or drinking. So when you say these things, like, like to talk on the phone, like you got to light up a cigarette to smoke. Like to me, that's like way out of this world. Like, why? And
one of the things when we were still down at the courthouse was that you go out and smoke by yourself, but you always hope that there was somebody out there.
It was usually smoking groups.
Yeah, it was so because there's that whole social thing
of conversation.
The conversation you have there with, and then people walking by looking at you like smokers. Who would be the worst ones? Ex-smokers.
So why is it that people that smoke cigarettes right after that they drink coffee?
Oh,
again,
caffeine.
these are all habits too,
caffeine.
And they're all habits that you develop.
Or you had a lot of people who do they do Diet Coke, but it's the caffeine that they're getting.
So it's more of the rush.
right.
Mhm.
I knew somebody who used
Well,
to
and you're
joke.
probably not. I mean, with nicotine, you might get a little bit more of a rush, but with the caffeine, you're trying to stay stable. Because somebody that drinks coffee all the time or drinks a lot of caffeine, even when they miss a day for what their heads are pounding, they're going through withdrawal.
Because my brother is a different person if he don't have Folgers in his cup in the
Oh
morning.
wow, yeah.
Like he's a totally different person. Like he'll drink coffee, it'd be good, but when he misses coffee, he'd be like, "Man, I need my coffee. I'm just not."
Yeah, his body's his brain is craving that.
Makes sense.
People, especially with coffee, there's people that'll tell you, "Don't even talk to me in the morning till I've had my coffee."
So I guess for him, the best part of waking up is really Folgers in his
Folgers
cup.
in your hand.
Well, any more coffee commercials?
That was brought to you by.
Who was my guy? Valdez. What was his name?
Bill Valdez.
Yeah.
The comedian.
No. He was
coffee.
he was a coffee guy in Colombia.
Yes.
Oh, so he said.
Oh, so he said.
At least it looked like Colombia, right?
And it looked like coffee. We are talking Colombia.
A little special coffee.
I had there was a young lady I dated when I was in college, and she went to Colombia on an exchange program. She's really smart because she went to study Spanish and psychology in Colombia, and she went to Medellin. And
that's not safe.
Yeah,
I ain't going to Colombia.
Yeah, she said she this is when I had to expand the footprint that African people have throughout the world. And she said, Keith, the people here, they have like black people here. And I kept thinking, well, I think of Colombia, I always think of indigenous people. I don't know, would they be Incas or I'm trying to think of what they would be there. But because of enslavement.
Sure.
And then we found out that Panama used to be part of Colombia. So that you had folks there. And so that's why you look, especially if you look around those coastal areas north, where Venezuela, Guyana, where there is significant Brazil, obviously, where you had folks there, but then you get to Argentina and you don't see it. Chile, you don't see it. But I think Peru has a significant African population there. But as you get, further down in the continent, less. But to be able to, wow, she was really smart. You're going to study psychology in Spanish? I know a lot of smart people. What's my issue? Oh, I know what it was. And I said it to my mother. You dropped me when I was little. A couple of times.
Blaming the mother.
Well, whose fault would it be, Julia? Who gets credit?
For the good too, right?
Right. Who gets credit?
Mama raised him right.
Look at that, boy. Where we would be without it's like Shaq. Shaq's mama. I love Shaq's mama. I love her. That sister is so wise. And she is like on point. And there was a doc they did on Shaq, and she was on point, and she living good because of her son. Because when she popped up and wanted everybody to see those Louboutins she was wearing, because but no, I mean, if it is our mamas.
Yeah, the Michael Jordan mother helped him out too.
Oh
with
man, Dolores.
Yeah. She wasn't no joke either. But yeah, black women, they've done a lot for their families.
Right, and we protect all of our children, but our sons, we feel a very strong need to protect our sons from the world because we know when they walk out there.
We're making them soft.
No, we're not making them soft. We're just being realistic that the world sees them a little bit different than they see other people.
Yeah, I think it's a unique role to be a black parent of particularly a black son.
Yes.
And I think that again, talking about the trauma that that you. What about?
I want to say though, because I grew up in the era where we had coaches on the playground, and they were usually college students that came back. That was very influential in our community.
You know what they used to call me at Our Avenue?
What?
The White Shadow.
The White Shadow. Wow.
Everybody remember the TV show,
I
The White
remember
Shadow?
that show, White
And they
Shadow.
called me. They said, "Yeah, here come the White Shadow." I went to college, and not only did I go to college, I went to a white college, right? So here I am up there with my penny loafers and my little polo shirt. Here we go. Right, 24th an hour. Here he comes.
They
Trying.
needed that though. They needed to see that.
Well, I don't know. I hope I was a positive influence. It was just a job for me. Look, dude, I'm home for the summer, and I need some work, and so that was it. I never thought about the, which is really kind of ironic, seeing I majored in saving the world in college. That when I got, that's a whole thing, man.
Really?
There's a whole lot of us that majored in saving the world. Yeah, not a very good major to go into because it's not going to happen. It's not. But no, I did. The good I wanted to do. I was such a student of Dr. King. It was all those things like the community good that that I could do. But then by the time I got to Our Avenue, like I need a job, and love the hours.
No
Certainly,
weekends, no holidays.
yeah. That's where I met the twins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that at Our Avenue, it was. We had some very interesting days.
And it really wasn't that bad of a community at that time.
No.
There were homeowners.
Right.
And,
we like that was a whole. I was saying this the other day. Just people don't realize how rigid the segregation was in this city.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of live everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the case.
Yeah.
No.
And so and then to the point where your neighborhood was your neighborhood, and unless you like go to junior high school with them, because in grade school you were at your neighborhood school, right? It's once you get to middle school now that you have kids coming from. Like I went to Parkman, so we had kids from Ben Franklin, Green Bay, Phillips, Garden Homes went to the 8th grade. I think Phillips did too. La Follette. Did I say Ben Franklin?
No.
Ben Franklin. Those were the feeder schools. And so then that was a whole neighborhood I didn't live in. And that whole Our Avenue neighborhood, I didn't know anything about until we started going to the Oasis.
Where was Ben Franklin at? That was off of...
It's on Nash. Yeah, over on Nash. You know about Ben Franklin?
I mean, I do. I just don't.
Eric Abway?
Because I moved away from the city.
What were they? 2-4?
2-4, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was right out of Franklin. Ben Franklin Playground was their headquarters.
Yeah.
And that beginning to see what we call gangs, and it nothing like let me say it real talk, like the real gangs, like the Stones and Gangster Disciples and the Vice Lords. Those are real gangs. Yeah, those were Latin Kings. Yeah. Those were, and when I worked on the South Side, the Latin Kings came out. One of the fascinating things about the Latin Kings was you had to be Dominican or Puerto Rican.
They hated us, though.
Yeah, the Latin Kings. Yeah, it was.
That was black.
And I thought the Latin Kings came out of New York. Latin Kings came out of Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. But yeah, you had to be. It was very specific because gangs. When we talk about kid gangs, a lot of times they were just formed by neighborhoods to protect themselves from other neighborhoods, the Crips and the Bloods. It was
27th and Capitol.
Right, for the 2-4?
Yeah, because that's where it all started, 27th and Capitol, and then they had the 2-4s, which came off of 24th and Capitol.
Eric Abway.
And then it was a mixture of the 2-7 and the Gangster Disciples, and they came up with the gang Shorty Folks, which ran up down Capitol. And then, yeah.
And, for me, Julia talked about this. My mom put us in sports, so I always had that coach. And I could say that most of my coaches were, all of them were really positive. Coach Jones, when I played football, and I went away 112 pounds or something like this, he got me on the line. They just running me over. They run me over. I'm little, just running me over. And he stand over me. You got any guts, Parris? You got any guts? I'm like, dude, I need some weight. I don't need guts. I got plenty guts. I ain't got no weight. Right. You need to get. I need like 50 pounds, man. These dudes are running me over. You got any guts? I was like, dude, man, when you put that on, making you tough, right? Well, it's the beginning of the year. Man, it's good to have you all back in studio.
It's good to be back.
Man, you kind of get addicted to it, don't you?
Yeah, see? Got an addiction. I mean, when I'm not here, I listen. I listen
like
many days, but...
I gotta talk.
Something's not right. Something's not right.
Get your little microphone out.
Around the block, looking in.
And I think that's going to be probably the tough part of, at some point, having to walk away, is the walking away, because you get addicted to it.
Mm-hmm. It's social. It's a part of your life. There's good there. It's enjoyable.
So when you first heard you was going to do it, I know Julie was ready. She cut the ad, but what were you feeling?
No, I was excited. Now when we, because we were coming occasionally, and then it became official that we did weekly.
And it was so cool that last program.
And we were only a half an hour. We started out, right?
And then, that it was good to have the folks in at the end.
Nancy and
Shakina, with the perspective. So anyway, be healthy, be you, Miss Julia Means, Miss Brenda Buchanan. Callers, we thank you. We didn't get our joke today.
A joke?
Yeah, we got a guy. He's in the dungeon. And
he sends you a joke?
No, he calls in.
Oh, he calls in with a joke.
He's doing pretty good now. I think he's been on the road.
Yeah. I've been hearing them. Yeah.
You think they're funny? Yeah, one that was just so bad, and we just went like cricket, like
a whole lot of cricket. They all have microphones.
Do you know in Japan, crickets are your alarm system?
Really?
Well, I know as a kid, I sure woke up to crickets.
Yeah. What happens with crickets is you hear them chirping, and then if something's in the area, they stop. That's how you knew. So I kind of read that. So when I worked at Camp Wickham, I could tell when somebody was coming near the lodge because the crickets would stop.
They're like,
Yeah, they stopped chirping. With compassion. All right. Hey, thank you all. Good Lord willing, creek don't rise. I hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace. May see to follow thee, Lord.
I'm Howard Robertson, founder and creator